All right. Hey everyone. This is just a really brief intro video. If you've never used Chat GPT before, this is what it looks like. And I'm just going to go over some ways that you can really generally use it, not even for education necessarily, just to kind of show you how it works. And then we'll kind of just progress on how are some ways that you might want to use it. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to write a little love letter to our boy Sal. So let's go to the search bar and say, can you write me a brief history of Worcester, Massachusetts? All right, so you see when you put it in the search tab, it's going to give you some pretty great information. Now, we can obviously have Sal go ahead and fact check everything, but this is part of the reason that some teachers are like, oh, kids can cheat, because you're going to get some information that you can kind of plug and play and use. But this is just kind of one way you can use it, right, to get some general information. Now, let's talk about the way that you can modify, to pivot in order to get more or different information, right? So let's try it this way. Can you write me a brief history on Worcester, Mass, and include information about prominent leaders throughout its history? All right, so you're going to get a lot of similar information, but then it's also going to go ahead and give you some of those important historical leaders or people throughout the city's history, which is pretty cool, right? But you can see how just modifying things in the search is going to change what you get. All right, so now let's think about how might I bridge the gap to the classroom. Let's just think about it, not even for the kids necessarily. Maybe it's for me. Maybe I'm fishing for sources. Maybe I want the kids to look for sources. So let's try something like this. Can you provide me with a list of secondary sources on the history of Worcester, Mass? Okay. So as you can see, it's churning out this list of sources that maybe you want to use, or maybe you can tell kids like, hey, this will help narrow down your search. But the other thing that we can do here when you think about this is we can also think about, we use Gale and we have JSTOR and all that. So let's just pivot to this. Can you provide me with a list of scholarly articles about the history of Worcester, Mass? Okay, so first we started with, okay, just secondary sources, and now it's going to give us a list of scholarly articles that maybe our students can run down in the different digital resources that we have, right? So we can take better advantage of the stuff that we have really easy access to, right? So you can pivot little things like that. Now let's think about how could we kind of use this in the classroom ourselves personally, right? We can actually go ahead and say, can you write me a 50-minute lesson plan on the history of Worcester, Mass for 11th grade students? So we can totally get into like the efficacy of this. You know, obviously I'm someone who takes a lot of pride in lesson planning, and I don't want to use Chat GPT, right? But when we think about just brainstorming, right? If we're ever in that rut, this would give you ideas on ways that, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe I can incorporate this. Maybe I can try that. So that's one way that we can use it, that might be useful to us, right? So again, this is just really basic. There's a lot of different ways that we can use it, and I think what we should try to do is think about different things that we can do with our kids, because again, it's not going to go away. But what are the best practices that we can cultivate? What are the things that we feel really comfortable with? What are some things like, hey, maybe we don't want our students using it in these certain ways? So I think those are things that we'll think about today, and we'll kind of explore the ways that we can use ChatGPT to our advantage moving forward.